Welcome, and I appreciate you all staying for another 15 minutes because I know you're all probably very hungry by now. But yeah, let's just run very quickly through a couple of trends that I brought with me today. It's roughly about mostly the US, a little bit of the UK, but I think the UK is not that dissimilar from Europe, despite, of course, Brexit and everything that we know about it. So maybe just a little bit of me. My name is Eva Kellershof. I'm the VP of Sales for North America and Europe. We build mobility platforms. We build digital retailing systems for OEMs, for large dealer groups, but also smaller dealer groups. And I think I have some type of expertise in that space, so happy to share that with you, and hope you're all curious about what I have to talk to you about. So I think the two trends that I want to really focus on are mainly two. One is, we heard a lot about it already today. It's BEVs, so battery electric vehicles, what's going on in the industry, especially in the US, but also digital retailing. I think it's a perfect segue that we just heard about, oh, there are some dealers out there that do not have an email address. It's quite a curious thing. But yes, I think from all that I know, in the US you have all websites. Dealers have websites that I think they're a little bit more advanced, but they're not just the rocket stars of digital transformation, let me call that out. So anyways, before we get into digital retailing, first of all, let's talk about BEVs. What's the state of the industry? It's a very similar topic as over here in Europe. We do have a big product market fit gap. And that product market fit gap manifests itself how? Well, same topic as in Europe, a big residual value crisis. So in the US, the current share of market of battery electric vehicles is roughly about 12%. So compare that to Europe. Who knows the numbers? Roughly? Anyone guesses? It's more than 20. So we have probably by the end of this year, like 21%, or 2025, 21%. It was estimated to have at least 27% by 2025. But what's the big reason? Well, we have a tax scheme that is helping the electric vehicles in Europe massively, which is the company car. So executives like to buy electric vehicles, they like to buy more expensive vehicles, and this is where the whole EV play is currently at, right? They're more expensive across the board. So in the US, the big price difference as well, but like similar as in Europe, you have roughly about 42% price gap between the average battery electric vehicle and the average ICE vehicle, so the gas vehicle. And the 12% share of market is already not a bad number. So we're currently experiencing a growth year over year of 55%. But when we look back into the year 2020, there were forecasts like from Frost and Sullivan who said, well, the number of the volume in 2025 is going to be what? This year we're going to, or by 2024 we're going to have 1.2 million in the US. What do you think was the guess? We're going to have how many more? 6.9 million, so roughly about 5 times as many EVs, you're nodding there, were expected for 2025 than we're actually experiencing. So no wonder that we've experienced a depreciation that is roughly 10 times as high for the EV than for the ICE vehicle. And the other one, the other number that you should probably keep in mind is the price parity. So we currently do have a price parity for used cars on EV side with compared to ICE vehicles. And that comes, of course, because of that large and sharp depreciation of the first couple of years in electric vehicles. However, 31,000 is the average price tag for a used car. That is pretty big. That's a pretty high number. Compare that to pre-COVID. It was, any guesses? What was the average price in the car in 2019? Any guess? $19,000. Yes. So huge price increase. We all talk about the inflation in the US, but that's basically the story. Maybe a number that we also see from the UK, very similar development. All powertrains depreciate about 52%. The BEVs depreciate down to 37.8%. So what are the reasons? One is total cost of ownership. We all thought, hey, yes, the asset itself is a lot more expensive than the ICE vehicle, but we're going to have lots of savings with taxes, with fuel consumption or charging, with maintenance, etc. What we didn't account for was a huge increase in insurance premiums. So with that depreciation that is a lot sharper than with ICE vehicles, we see a lot more vehicles that are considered scrapped, so that are considered no more repairable once they get damaged, because either the supply chain is not there, so parts are taking too long to provide. The depreciation helps it not being really restorable to its previous value, and third, of course, we don't have the mechanics that can calibrate all of the sensors and whatnot. So, really, a big problem for owners. And then, interestingly, what also occurs to probably you who sell cars to private owners. What private owners shop for are monthly payments, and they always compare like leasing rates on the IC vehicles compared to EV vehicles, and those are big differences. Currently, we're seeing a boom of leasing, of course, because the customer doesn't want to take the risk of the battery, and so he's willing to get into a leased vehicle because he doesn't have to take any risk whatsoever. And that's on both sides of the pond, the exact same picture. Then the practicality issue, so range and infrastructure, still we see a similar thing. Despite the Inflation Reduction Act in the US under Biden, there's been a massive boost to invest into charging stations, charging infrastructure, etc. But the problem is, of course, that land is massive, right? The US is massive. And we have this asymmetry between the people who really want to buy an electric vehicle, who all live in urban areas, and the ones that have the space to put the infrastructure there, and they're not interested in it. And also in the US, you usually drive probably around twice as far on an annual basis, so you have to make much more miles, and for that it's really inconvenient to actually have to charge the car for your annual trips or whatsoever. And then, of course, the same thing happens in the US as well. That's our erratic government subsidy landscape. So from massive subsidies in California to no subsidies whatsoever in Nebraska and South Dakota. We see the whole range, and whenever there is a lot of variation from a government point of view, where consumers are becoming a little bit more insecure about, what is going to be next year's state. I mean, for me, and I had that conversation earlier today, also with a colleague. For me, the EV adoption template is Norway. Because in Norway, what you have is all of these benefits. You not only have subsidies that are always there all the time. Remember, for those who drove a battery electric vehicle, like myself 3 years ago, you went into city centers, you had no charges for parking. Yes, I want those back. It's annoying. I don't want to have all of these subsidies taken away just because now it's considered an elite thing to have a battery electric vehicle, right? Anyways, so let's go and move to the next one. But we see all of those topics are currently a little bit on the mend everywhere across the board, but it's nothing that we can really help. Where we can help, however, that's on the digital retailing side. So, how do we close the gap on the digital retailing side? And I call that the trust gap. So we see from market studies, whenever a customer goes into the showroom for the first time after having done a lot of research online, they lose a lot of trust. And how come? First of all, let me look at what's the landscape right now. From a dealer's point of view, not good. So $1,200 less average gross profit in the US per deal. And 1 of 4 trades are actually underwater, so no equity in the car when they come in to make that parts exchange. Well, how can you help and differentiate in that kind of a situation? You differentiate yourself by providing a much better customer experience. But how is that customer experience a really good one? If the dealer repeats 97% of the steps in the process in store. So you complete all of these things. You decide what the payment terms are going to be online. You're going to decide, what the type of car you're going to provide as a trade-in. You do all these things. You maybe start filling out a credit application. And then you come into the store and the dealer has no idea what you've done and you have to repeat everything one more time. And the other study result is 54% of those shopping for a car right now would pay more if the process were more convenient and more agreeable and more pleasant. So that means what dealers often miscomprehend is that they think all of the people who are buying online, they just want the cheapest price. No, they're there to also have a much better and more convenient way of looking at things. And then one more story from COVID. Do you see this? In 2020, 43% of customers who bought a car said, that experience was just much better than the one before. Same 51%. And all of a sudden, 2021, only 34% said, that experience was better than the year before. 1 year later, in 2022, only 31% said it was better. What was the reason? Well, in 2020, all of the stores were closed because of COVID. Everything had to be done online. People were really happy. They could do stuff online. And then the dealers opened up again and said, come back to the store. We want to treat you really well. Look what happened. Not a great thing. This year, for the first time, 38% said, getting better. Let's go. So, as I said, there's not a lot of satisfaction out there. 56% of buyers only 56% of buyers were happy with the process and how long it took. In the US, that means 177 minutes to transact in the store for a car. That's roughly about 3 hours. From before COVID, I think they saved like 2 minutes. And overall, it takes 13 hours with all of the online research and whatnot to do this. Is this the way modern shopping should feel like? I don't think so. What are we used to in online shopping, even for bigger items? It's convenience and speed. And we all heard AJ today this morning who said 40% of dealers do not respond to a lead within 1 week. I have a similar customer survey that said 7% of dealers respond to a lead within 24 hours. Pretty much same category, only that survey is like 2 years older. Okay, I have still 3 more slides. Are you willing to stay for another 2 minutes? Okay, great. Okay, everything is about speed and convenience. So how do we leverage that from an in-store experience and from a technology point of view? It's very important. We're now building large platforms that are exactly about creating the same experience that you have online as in the store. That means in the store, you don't want to sit behind the desk where the screen is facing towards you and the customer is on the other side because he has no idea what you're currently doing. What are you calculating? Customers want to watch onto the same iPad and want to recalculate and want to re-feel all the steps that you take, because they only do it once every 3 or 4 years, while you do that every day, all day. So now let me ask the question, how many people want to do in the future all of the steps in person in the store? Today in the US, 50% do everything in the store. They probably watch a magazine on TV, or look into a newspaper for some comparisons. In the future, of those people asked if they want to do it in store, only 8% want to do that completely in store. What about a hybrid approach? 43% today complete it in a hybrid way, doing many steps up front, like comparison, shopping, etc. Online, maybe look at some payments online. In the future, they say, I want to do that 71% of the time. So who's then left? Mainly Gen Zs and the young people. Of course, today there are 7% who do it completely online, probably the Tesla drivers in that segment, because those are the ones who really have a completely online sales journey. But 21% want to do that online in the future. And then ask yourselves, how many of you do actually have a complete end-to-end process that will allow for that, including credit application, etc., including delivery, etc. So, quick one, where do we have to go in the future? We need to have more price transparency from beginning to end, and not prices changing from an online perspective through an in-store perspective. Secondly, people want to buy their deal on a tablet. And third, remove those duplicate steps. Create an experience that allows you to understand where the customer was when they did steps online, and then seamlessly resume the shopping experience from there. And then finally, make that check on your website, assuming you have one. Everybody here has one, who's in the dealer fraction. Audit your website. Is it clear and simple? Can people get the messages clearly? Second, is your buying experience great on any device? So mobile first. People want to look into their phone, then switch to the tablet, then switch to the desktop and have the exact same experience. Third, where's your lead gate? How much information do you offer the customer before you ask the customer for his information about first name, last name, email address? How much do you give him? And then fourth, is it easy to find accurate and transparent price and lending option on your website? How easy is it? And then 5, are your customers clear on the next step in the buying process, when they either are continuing on their online journey or when they go into your store? Those are quickly my messages. Stay innovative, stay fast, flexible as the industry changes as well. And whoever wants to speak with me, just give me your, here's my business card, just tag it and get in touch. I look forward to the conversation. Thank you so much.